Hello.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, Derek's been stitched up in leash this morning.
What? A stitch in time saves 9.
I think we're done with the embroidery puns there, so let's head over to Mountmellick, where Derek is taking on a crafting masterclass.
Yes, good morning, teams. A stitch in time saves 9, isn't that right?
That's true, Derek. That's so true indeed.
Absolutely. Welcome down here to the Embroidery Museum here in the heart of Mountmellick in County Laois. And Dowling is with us now. And first up, talk us through that link between embroidery and Mountmellick.
Mountmellick embroidery is the only form of Irish embroidery that's totally Irish in origin and design, dating back to the 19th century. With the museum experience here where you come, there's a 9-minute welcome video, and following that you come into the museum where we have original and contemporary pieces of Mountmellick embroidery on display.
Now, speaking of some of the pieces here, you told me earlier on that they have to be hung in a certain way. Why is that?
Yes, they do. They have, due to the age of the material and the stitching, and that we have a textile conservator, Rachel Phelan from Dublin, who comes down to hang our pieces and to adhere to the museum standards of best practice.
We're going to slip out one of these drawers here as well. There's a cloth here by Miss Elizabeth Constance Fitzpatrick. Tell us about the significance of that.
That cloth was Senator David Norris's aunt, and she donated that cloth to Sister Teresa Margaret.
And of course, quite significant because Senator David Norris has just retired from public life.
He did, and he would have visited a museum here on numerous occasions to see the cloth.
Yarn bombing here is quite big about Mountmellick as well, isn't it?
Yes, it is. We had a collaboration project with Yarn Bombing Mountmellick for Culture Night 2021. They would have got 3 chairs from the convent where Sister Teresa Margaret lived and taught during her time. They decorated the chairs in the 4 seasons: spring, summer, autumn, winter.
And that was all around the town as well. And added that lovely bit of colour as well.
All around the town, yeah. They had just there for Christmas, they had a display down in the cinema, down in all the Christmas, and they would decorate the town each year.
And so much work gone into it.
So much work. Another voluntary group. Indeed.
And we'll talk to you. We'll get back to you in a few moments' time. First up, we're going to say hello to Dolores Dempsey. Good morning to you,
hello,
Dolores. Dolores, we've got some gorgeous dresses, some beautiful goonas here on display. Tell us about the work that goes on here.
2 of them are contemporary dresses that I worked on with fashion designers. One is with Caroline Mitchell and the other one is with Heidi Higgins.
Caroline, of course, is a Limerick lace designer.
She's a knitwear designer
yes.
in Limerick, and the dress that I worked on with her is a mixture of crochet, knitting and Mountmellick embroidery.
That second piece we have there.
The second piece was one I did with Heidi Higgins, and we did the top of the bodice. We embroidered that with roses and butterflies, so it just added a pop to her design that year.
Really beautiful. And finally, that kind of Game of Thrones inspired one.
Yes, this third dress is a donation to the museum by the family of a nun who worked with Sister Teresa Margaret in the convent, Sister Rosaria. She crocheted this dress for her niece back in the 1970s, and they donated it to the museum recently. So it's entire Irish crochet.
I mean, you could see that on the red carpet.
Yes.
Awards season kicking off right about now. You talk about like Alexa Chung, British TV presenter.
Yes.
She's been seen in items of beautiful embroidery.
Yes, so it has made a revival, and what's unique about white on white is it's timeless. It never dates. So even though it's got 200 years old, it still looks as fresh today as it did back then.
And in fact, that's where you learned the skill back with the nuns, because it is really a dying art, isn't it?
Yes, it was back in the 70s. Sister Teresa Margaret, who's the nun that's credited with reviving this embroidery, taught us in school. And then when I grew up, she had started classes in the town, and I joined those classes back in the late 80s. So,
as you mentioned, award season, I believe Brie Larson as well, the American actress, she's been spotted in some beautiful embroidered pieces as well.
Yes. So it's embroidery just is so timeless, and it's relaxing for people to do, and it just holds its effect.
Speaking of timeless and relaxing, we're joined here by Margaret and Carmen. Good morning to you, Margaret.
How are you, Derek? How are you?
Great, thank you. And how long are you embroidering?
About 15 years, Derek.
And do you enjoy it?
I absolutely love it. It's really a lovely pastime. It's very relaxing and rewarding.
And what about yourself, Carmel?
Yes, I'm 20 years plus at Derek as well, and it's fantastic. And you can make gifts for people as well, which will last forever.
And I can imagine, because it's quite slow, it just, you know, I mean, you really take your foot off the pedal with it, don't you?
You do. It kind of brings you back and grounds you. Yes, and you're back to something that was done years and years ago, and you're still doing it.
Still doing it. We're going to finish up here with the ladies. I mean, when you talk about the funding here, it's so important that you do get the funding. You get it from the local Heritage Council.
It is indeed, Derek. Due to funding from the Department of Culture, Heritage, Tourism, the Gaeltacht, the Heritage Council, the Design Craft Council and Laois County Council, we have completely upgraded the museum experience here over the last number of years.
And a lot of volunteers here as well.
Yes, we have a very hard-working museum committee.
All right, where can we find out more online?
Mountmellickdevelopment.com and go to the museum.
That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Mountmellickdevelopment.com.
It's a voluntary board, Derek. Mountmellick Development Association.
Well, thank you so much for joining us here this morning, ladies. To Margaret and Carmel as well for your time. We really enjoyed the museum. Certainly well worth coming down if you're in this neck of the woods,
Thank
right?
you very much indeed for calling, Derek, and your viewers are more than welcome to come to see us
There we go. She's really settling it down here in County Leash. Back to you in the studio. We'll get them all down.
Yes.
They're all coming out. There's bus loads.
The damage I could do with fake tan to those beautiful dresses. It would be a terrible thing. Thank you, Derek.
And Derek,
gorgeous.
Lovely
and
wedding
as usual,
dress.
Derek doing his service, letting us know now. I never knew that place existed in Mountmellick, and now we do.
There you go. Thank you, Derek.